Hey everyone, it's Rob Folia and Jessica Klein with Folia Properties at Keller Williams Realty here in Nashville, and we're coming to you live today with the Real Real Estate Show because we're 1 month into 2021, and we just want to talk about how the market's doing, like what's actually happening in the market. I know we always, we're friends with a lot of real estate agents, and we see a lot of markets phenomenal, markets this, markets that out there, and as always, our goal is to educate and inform our customers, our clients, and let you know what's actually happening. So, we ready to jump in and get started, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in such an interesting market right now. And, this is always my favorite time of the month when we can pull up these new stats and kind of see what the result has been over the last 30 days and then, compare it to what's happened before. So there are some pretty interesting things going on here. I mean, kind of a lot of the same that we've been talking about where, we don't have very many homes on the market and, it's surprising to me that we're not seeing any kind of a correction yet, and yet it will happen at some point.
Exactly. At some point, it will, and who knows when that correction is going to happen. It's interesting. Now, I know, Jessica, you've already looked at some of these numbers. I have not yet, and so I'm going to probably be more surprised than you are on the video. And yet, I'm excited to dive in and look at some of these. And I do think because we're in an extreme seller's market. I mean, we've been that way for, gosh, probably. I mean, really, we've been in a seller's market for years here in Middle Tennessee, and yet we really saw the market shift and become that extreme sellers market last year when less homes hit the market and less homes than we were expecting. A big part of that was COVID. A big part of that was people craving that security of home, not wanting to get out as much. There were so many things that went into it. And if y'all have tracked these videos and watched these videos, you've seen this is one of the things that we look at on a regular basis, and that is the amount of homes that are actually for sale in our market. You can see that very typically we see the amount of homes for sale increase from December into January. I mean, here you go. You see December 18 to January 19, there's an increase. December 19 to January 20, there's an increase. And yet, once again, another drop off, a drastic drop off from December into January. I mean, the amount of homes for sale, this is in our entire MLS. So, for those that don't know what I mean by that, this is our entire system of Middle Tennessee homes for sale. So that's even parts of Kentucky and even parts of Alabama. I mean, going all the way from Clarksville to Lewisburg to Dixon to Lebanon. I mean, this entire area of Middle Tennessee, that we went from almost 11,000 homes for sale in December of 2020 to about 8,700 homes for sale in January 2021. That's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, well, and I'll show you something even crazier. Compare January 21 to January 2020.
Oh, that's a great idea. Look at that. January 2020. So this time last year, we saw 17,251 homes for sale in our entire market. It's
Yeah.
half right now. I mean, it's where
Yeah.
you can see right here if you can zoom in, or if you can look at my numbers. I don't know if y'all see it, accurately on Facebook. Hopefully, if you're watching the recording, you can. But 49%. That's insane.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what we're talking about here with it being a seller's market. I mean, you'll hear buyer market, seller market. A seller market is where traditionally the seller has the advantage. There's high demand for their property, and so it's a little easier for them to sell their home. And the one of the reasons that this homes for sale, statistic is kind of plummeting is, well, one, people are a little bit hesitant to sell their home for many reasons, and then two, buyers are having an easier time affording these highly competitive, increased sale price homes because of the low interest rate. So we're just kind of seeing a continuation. I mean, if you're watching these videos, you've heard us say these same things over and over again, and it seems like the trend is continuing. And I mean, we don't really know how much farther down this graph is going to go. We can just kind of act on what's here today.
Oh, exactly. Just to give you all an idea, because what we had pulled up was about 3 years worth of data. Just looking back from the max. So this system started in January of '08, so about 13 years now. I mean, this is literally an all-time low, and an
Yeah.
all-time low by a lot. I mean, previously the lowest was December of 16. It looks like 11,870. We actually got lower than that in December of this year. but it's dropped significantly since. And you can see the general trend tends to be December into January, there's an increase. It may not be a huge
Yeah.
increase, yet there tends to be an increase every year. There's not this year. And that should be concerning to hopefully real estate agents that are out there and buyers as well, though. But I mean, this is impacting our market in a way that we're not seeing yet. Now, just to continue what you had said a moment ago, Jessica, and that with it being an extreme seller's market, there's two sides to the supply and demand. Like we talk a lot about how there's low supply and that makes it a good thing. Let's look at the demand. And I think one of the best ways to look at demand, because there's not a amount of buyers looking like statistic that we can look at. That's an unknown number. We don't know how many buyers are searching or anything like that. But we can look at pending sales, and you can see how pending sales have jumped through the roof here over
Yeah.
the last little bit. That's crazy. That's in our entire market. That's not just Nashville. It's not just Murfreesboro or Franklin or anything like that. This is our entire MLS system. So that's part of it. How pending sales are up in an insane amount. That tells us the demand is high, and with the supply being low, that plays a factor. Now, I will say this number can't go up much further because this number, the pending sales, is tied directly into this. People can't buy a home if it's not for sale. You know what I mean? So there's going to get to a point where the market stalls. Now, the cool thing is if you're a homeowner and you're thinking of moving, these are prime conditions. Like, and we're not just saying this, like this is the data that shows these are prime conditions that, make this happen now while everything looks phenomenal for you, because this could change, in the next 6 months. We could see this number increase. We probably will see this number decrease because, I mean, again, this is directly tied to the other number, and there's just no way that this can keep going up because this number is going down. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. And I would say with pending sales, I mean, best case scenario, we have a flat line soon. This number, homes for sale, it's never going to go to zero. There's always someone out there who just needs to sell. And that's just a part of life. So, pending sales, that like you said, it directly reflects this. But buyers can pull out of the market anytime they want to.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I think we did a video on it last week. I know you and I have discussed it a couple of times, and so we don't need to go into too much detail about it. And yet the buyers, we are seeing some buyers that are dropping out of the market right now because there's a lack of options, because this number is so low. And here, this may not look like a low number to some of y'all. If you're seeing 8,700 homes for sale, you might be like, well, wait a minute, that's not so bad. Jessica, give me an area where that way people know I'm not just saying.
Let's do, gonna do Clarksville?
Can
Maybe something
Clarksville's
more
not
central
far
to
from
Nashville.
Let's do something a little closer. Let's what was
Maybe
your
Mount Juliet.
Mount Juliet. All right, let's do that. So Mount Juliet 37122. Perfect example right here. So if you were a home buyer in Mount Juliet and you were thinking, about buying a home, this is for all price points too, by the way, y'all. So there are a total of 162 homes for sale in Mount Juliet. Compare that to January of last year, 553. Look at that. That's
Yeah, we're
down.
running it at 20% here.
Yeah, I mean it's down almost 71% compared to this time last year, which
Yeah.
is insane.
And this is now that 160 number, was it? I mean, yeah, 162. That's all price points. So that's whether you're looking at a home under 200 or over 800.
So let's
So,
look right here then,
yeah.
because this is kind of an average price point, 270 to basically 360, and that's an even better stat to look at. I mean, again, so looking at January of last year, there were 102 homes for sale. There's a whole 40 for sale right now. Let's go to 360 to 440. Again, a little slightly above average. 159 back in January of 2020, 33 this year. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's down almost 80%. I mean, this, we're not trying to give you these numbers to scare you if you're a buyer. Just know as a buyer, like these are the conditions we're walking into. Know as a seller that these are the conditions we're walking into. And so, as a seller, this is great. As a buyer, it may be tough. And again, for all the sellers out there, we are seeing some buyers drop out because they're saying, well, this time last year, I had 160 options. Now I've got 33. I'm just not seeing what I like. I'm going to extend my lease, or hey, I'm just going to stay put in my current home because it works. It's not as big as we'd like, or maybe we don't have as much yard or whatever the case is, but they're staying put because what's on the other side isn't there. It's like a blank it's a blank picture, you know.
Yeah. Well, and then on the other side of that coin, for people who haven't been able to purchase in the past, or are really dead set on having that low interest rate, now could be a great time. And if you're working with the right person, the right agent, then there are lots of ways that you can make your offers more appealing than some other buyers out there. Make yourself more competitive. It's still going to take more time. That's a guarantee. But it is a very interesting market right now. It's unique. It's dramatic.
Oh, it absolutely is. And so, I don't know. Is there anything else we can look at? Let's real quick before we jump out. We'll look at months of supply, and let's close out of Mount Juliet, and let's just look at the entire MLS. So months of supply, just in case this is your first video checking out of ours, something we look at quite often because it's a real estate. Gosh, I can't get my words out, Jessica. It's a real estate statistic that says basically, is this a buyer's market or a seller's market? So instead of having to look at, well, what's the demand? What's the supply? What's that? We're saying if no homes were to hit the market ever again, this is how many months of supply we have currently today. So this is how long it's going to take for all these homes to sell. What's considered a balanced market by real estate economists is where my mouse is hovering, right around 6 months of supply. And if you see, we haven't been at 6 months since 2013. We were creeping up there in 2019, and Jessica, you and I have hypothesized that if Corona didn't happen last year, we probably would have hit that in 2020. We were trending that way, and yet you can see here on the graph that we're literally at an all-time low for our entire MLS, 1.6 months of supply. The previous all-time low before this market shift, before Corona happened, the previous all-time low was just below 3. It looks like 2.9 happened a couple of times toward the end of 16 and the end of the end of 16 into 17 and the end of 17 into 18. But since then, it was climbing, and since Corona, it's dropped significantly. And let's pick one more area just in case we've got somebody watching that and we happen to hit their area. You want to say Franklin?
Sure.
Let's just look at Franklin's months of supply. And so again, these are the historic numbers that we're seeing for the city of Franklin. And you can see right here, September of 19, we almost hit that magic number of 6 months of supply. Like, y'all, that is a trigger that we were going into a balanced market. And since then, there's literally 1 month of supply out there for sale right now. So again, extreme sellers market, just more data that shows us this is an extreme sellers market that we're in. And it's going to change at some point. I mean, the market is shifting before our eyes. It's shifting further into a seller's market, surprisingly, because you and I have said before, there's nowhere else for it to go. I mean, there's no this months of supply. I mean, I don't know how it can keep going any lower. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, and if you had to pick one thing that's kind of moral of the story here, what would you say?
Great question. I would say if you're wanting to make a move, sell your house now, because like we will never probably ever see this again. I mean, yeah, we could see it for another 3 months or 4 months, but at some point this will change. I mean, what's happening in our world right now, Jessica? I mean, like there's been a lot of news with virus vaccines, I should say, right? So I mean, if that happens and people are more comfortable putting their home up for sale, people have more comfortable with people walking through their home. Buyers are, what I'm getting at. I mean, what I'm saying is that's going to increase the supply, right? That's going to increase the amount of
Yep.
homes that we have for sale. Now, let's also say one other thing, and I wish there was a statistic in this system that showed historical interest rates, and there's not. And I won't Google it right now, but at the same time, know that rates are at a historic low. Like, we're not just saying that, they literally have never been as low as they've been over the last 12 months. If those were to rise, if they were to rise even to 4%, like that's a good rate historically. And yet overall, it's a rise from where they are today. That's going to cut some buyers out of the market. And if that happens and supply rises, we're going to be looking at something completely different.
Yeah, and so just to piggyback on everything you said, we don't know what's going to happen in the future or when. And the best thing that you can do is make a good decision with the information you have now. And at this point, I would say the moral of the story is sell your home if you want to. Like, if you want to sell your home in the next 1 to 3 years, maybe even 5 years, it's got to be hard to not look at it right now, because
Exactly.
it's going to be easier than any other time, and you're going to get a better price than any other time.
Well, exactly. And, and we obviously we don't know what pricing is going to be in 12 months or 24 months or 36 months. We have no idea. But I love what you said there, Jessica. And you used the word easy. You said it's going to be easier today than it will be at any other time. And that's I don't know about y'all, but watching this video or you, Jessica, but for me, like I would much rather, if I'm selling my home, make it an easy process than have to worry about prolonged showings or showings that are happening for 30 days instead of 3 days, and things along those lines. And um, because of these market conditions, this process is going to be easier for you than it ever has been or that it ever could be. Because if this rises, the amount of months of supply rises, if the amount of homes for sale, which whenever that loads here, you'll see it again. But here, as you can see in Franklin, the same thing. It's plummeting. If that starts to rise, like that's going to impact how long it's taking you to sell your home. And while we can still always sell it for top market price, whatever that price is at the time that we're looking at everything, the reality is what we're going to be. Y'all know what I'm saying. I'm sure that we're going to be in the perfect market conditions for you right now to make this an easy sale. So
Absolutely. And if you're interested in learning more, you can go to our website, foliaproperties.com/buy or sell, /buy or /sell. And we'd be happy to walk you through it and just answer questions, no strings attached. We really are just here to help.
exactly. And sometimes it is about putting the plan in place for you. So, that's what it's all about. You can give us a shout, 615-591-5665. You can email us, info@foliaproperties.com. You can also do, as Jessica said, go to foliaproperties.com/sell, and we can get this process started for you. Even if you're just kind of wanting that plan right now, we can make it happen. I think that's it. And before we jump off, Jessica, anything on Facebook Live, any questions, anything like that we can get into?
No, I mean, just that we got a like from Jeremy Galloway. So thank you very much for watching, Jeremy. And we'll be keeping an eye on it for, forever. It's Facebook. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments and we'll get back to you.
Absolutely. Give us a shout with any questions, y'all. And until next time, appreciate y'all checking this out. Thank you so much.
Thanks.